Hi, I'm Benjamin Payne. At the K-12 Education Office at Hillsdale College, we support school founding groups and their efforts to start classical schools across the country. Finding the right leader is one of the first and most important steps to building a successful school. While we do consider experience in education, we seek candidates who exhibit unwavering personal integrity, honesty, courage, and servant-hearted leadership. Perhaps that's you. If you're looking to engage in fulfilling, impactful, and challenging work protecting our nation's future and building up the next generation of virtuous citizens, we'd love to hear from you. I'm looking for strong school leaders right now. Learn more about how you can make a difference at hillsdale.edu/leader. hillsdale.edu/LEADER. That's hillsdale.edu/leader.
Welcome to the Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast, bringing you insight into classical education and its unique emphasis on human virtue and moral character, responsible citizenship, content-rich curricula, and teacher-led classrooms. Now your host, Scot Bertram.
Thanks for listening. The Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast is part of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. More episodes at podcast.hillsdale.edu or wherever you get your audio. You also can find more information on topics and ideas discussed on this show at our website, k12.hillsdale.edu. We're joined by Abigail Teska. She is an art teacher at Seven Oaks Classical School in Ellettsville, Indiana. Abigail, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Talking about supporting summer art for classical students, and we've done a number of these in the series, and always some great insight from our guests. Abigail, why is parent involvement and then support of art instruction over the summer so important?
Yeah, so I think if you think about any subject and what the students are learning about and doing in art in school, we're really trying to help students build habits for a lifetime. And if that's our goal, it's something that we should continue over the summer. So what do we do in art class during the school year? What is our goal first and foremost? Well, we want to help students see things that are beautiful, begin to understand them, and gain appreciation for those beautiful things. And if we really think about this goal of classical art education, it's not just a methodology or something that's used in art class, but it actually can help build habits for our students for a lifetime. And we hope that these habits that students begin to form in art class will lead our students to seek out beauty in their lives. And we hope that this will lead them towards goodness. And I guess eventually the hope is that this will lead them to live fuller and more meaningful lives. Obviously, as well, doing art during the summer is a benefit to fine motor skill development for students of all ages. So it's really always helpful to do things like cutting and drawing always in the summer to keep building upon those fine motor skills that aren't always practiced outside of school. And personally, I teach almost 300 students during the school year. And I think if I were to ask them what they would want to do during the summer, what subject they would want to continue studying, I think one of them at the top of the list would absolutely be art. I think that art just brings fun into their lives and joy into their lives. And as well, I think art connects learning from various subjects in areas of their lives. So art is really a way to form what we call cross-curricular connections. So essentially working on art projects during the summer can be a way to review a math concept like fractions or something learned in history. So it's a great way to kind of review and think about all the subjects in a fun way during the summer as well.
What are some important questions for parents to consider as they approach supporting their children's art instruction over the summer?
Yeah, so I think if we're going to start by thinking about beauty first and foremost, I think the first question I would ask is, how can I encourage my children to appreciate beauty? Where can we witness natural beauty together? Maybe outside, going for a walk, planting flowers. And I think that for children and for parents as well, that this meaningful time spent together builds, beautiful experiences and memories outside of just doing art. Other questions are, what simple activities and materials can I have accessible for my children to independently decide and go about making something, creating something? What experiences can I expose my children to in order to see beautiful works of art? Are there any nearby museums that offer special exhibits or free days that we could experience this summer? Could we take a trip to the arts and crafts store and have the children pick out their favorite art material that maybe they learned during the school year and something that they hope to practice more during the summer?
Are there some simple, meaningful art activities that parents can help with at home over the summer?
Yes, absolutely. So I think if we think about the master artists, or we think about what we do in art class, the most meaningful activity that students could work on that's simple and easy is to prioritize drawing, and drawing like master artists. So if you think about master artists like Monet, he would go and he would draw outside. He built a beautiful house and gardens. Giverny, where he said it was his constant inspiration for the things that he would create. So it's really great to always look for inspiration from things in real life and practice drawing from things in real life or drawing from observation. So a couple fun ideas is you could collect some objects, maybe from the outside in your garden, or you could go on a little nature walk and collect some sticks and some flowers and bring them together inside and compose a little still life. And the students can think about, oh, where would this flower look nice next to this stick? How can I arrange it in a different manner? Or maybe this is an opportunity for the parent to bring out some objects inside the house that are maybe meaningful, maybe things that were collected from trips or experiences, and students can have the experience of drawing something that's meaningful to them or to their parents. So you can collect natural objects or other objects from inside the house and use them to make a still life, which is essentially just objects that are stationary that are from real life. And this is something like artists like Paul Cézanne would often do. He would spend hours and hours in his studio drawing from life. So even though drawing may sound simple, it's very fundamental, and it's an excellent thing that you can do at your home with only really a couple of supplies. So I would recommend just some simple pencils, and then also a sketchbook, and maybe even a smaller sketchbook so it could be portable and you can take it with you if you go on a trip or something like that. And so drawing can be an easy activity that can be incorporated into your other summer plans.
As a suggestion, perhaps, my son he wouldn't call it this, but he essentially does a visual diary. So he draws pictures based on things that have happened to him. And of course, over the summer, he does it more often. We travel more and there are more non-school events happening. But it gives him an opportunity both to be creative and to create some memories he can look back on in the future.
Yes, I think that's an excellent idea. Some of my students' favorite, I guess you could say, art projects that they might engage with over the summer, they like drawing and writing comics. One of my fourth grade student has a taco monster comic, and the book just gets longer and longer and longer. This summer as well, I was gifted another book of various architectural drawings of, I guess it was a sort of military base, and there were all these levels and some detailed drawings and some drawings more kind of blown out big picture. And so, yeah, students really enjoy the opportunity to tell stories as well through their art. So if you can think about it, kind of a sequential thing that students can draw, I think that's also really a great activity. Probably another really fun recommendation for creativity during the summer, what sort of project you might do just to get things started. And by the way, I don't think you have to have any specific projects thought out. I think, Scott, as your example illustrates, children are so creative. If you could just give them the simplest of tools, it can really let them kind of enter their inner child and just be creative and have fun. And so I think almost the less structure you provide, the more meaningful the experience it can be, especially during the summer. But one recommendation of a project, if you feel like your child needs something specific to work on, this is an assignment that I've assigned some students over the summer before, and they really enjoyed it. And you can kind of think about the parameters for different age children. But one assignment is draw 100 different types of animal eyes. And this is a super fun activity. They can draw the eyes nice and big. They could color them with pencil or oil pastel. And if students don't really know what a great white shark's eye looks like, it's an opportunity for them to do a little research, go to the library and get a good picture and work from that reference as well. So it's a really fun activity, and students really enjoy it as well.
Talking with Abigail Teska from Seven Oaks Classical School in Ellettsville, Indiana, about supporting summer art instruction. You allude to this earlier. Are there ways or suggestions for family to engage with really great works of arts, paintings, sculptures, architecture over the summer, even things that perhaps can be done from home?
Yeah, so what we do in the art classroom all begins with looking at a beautiful work of art, an artist who has become a master at his craft. And so I think if you can continue this process of appreciating beautiful works of art at home, it's really meaningful to your students because it's something that they've been doing in the classroom as well. I have a book that I would recommend, or actually a book series. It's called Getting to Know the World's Greatest Artists, and it's by Mike Venezia. And it's a whole series with lots of different artists that you can read about. And inside this book series, you can see some of the works of art that the artist makes, but it's also a really fun biography about the artist's life as well. So it's a good read aloud or something that students can read themselves as well. Also from home, a lot of the major museums have really great websites with many offerings for children and for families. And so one of my favorite websites is the Met Museum, the Metropolitan Museum. And they have a part on their website that's Met Kids. And I wouldn't recommend that the children should just go out there and peruse the website, but there are resources that you can kind of engage with beautiful works of art. There's stories about artists that you can read to your children there. And then there's also short video clips, about 2 minutes, that take you and your children into the actual museum where the works of art are. And there's a curator who talks about the works of art as well. But the very short videos are made for children, which is really great as well. So if you feel like you don't know a lot about art or you don't know how to start the conversation about art, this is a way that you and your children can learn together. Other museum websites, like the Monet Museum with his house and gardens, actually has a tour of his house and gardens. So you can actually kind of click along and see what his house and gardens were like. So there's lots of different ways to explore works of art and artists' inspiration from home. You
were talking about starting the conversation with children about art. Parents out there might not feel capable or might not feel that they are good enough in the world of art to do so. Can a parent guide some simple conversations around a painting or concerning a sculpture or anything in the world of art where even if they don't feel like they're an expert?
Yes, absolutely. Beginning to look at and learn about and appreciate a work of art doesn't have to be complex. And there's so many right answers as well. And so like anything, if you just start and you try, you'll find that you really enjoy the process as well, I think. So if you don't feel like an expert, how do you begin looking at a work of art, whether you're a child or an adult? I think the first step is to begin with observation. So start with the question, what do you see? And just start describing, what shapes do you see? What colors do you see? What lines do you see? And then once you've observed what you see, next you're going to note the elements. So when we talk about elements in art, we're talking about the elements of art: line, shape, value, color, form, space, and texture. There's 7 of them. And you don't have to be an expert at the elements of art to note them. You can just think about questions like, how does the artist kind of lead our eyes through the work of art? Where do our eyes rest? Essentially, what is the focal point? What are we most interested in the work of art? Or thinking about the colors. Are there bright colors used, or are there dull or dark colors used? So you can start with just very simple conversations with your student, or very simple kind of aspects of the work of art. And then I think the next step, and maybe talking about the color, or can actually lead into this next step, which is consider the expressive context. So essentially, what is the artwork communicating to you? And sometimes an artist has something that he wants to communicate, and sometimes it's very clear to the viewer. And other times, like in the case of a Mark Rothko painting where he actually left all of his works of art untitled, he didn't want to tell the viewer what to think at all. He wanted the viewer just to feel what they felt based on the work of art. And actually, in many cases, some of Mark Rothko's works of art led people to tears just looking at them. So many works of art have a really strong emotional quality to them. And so I think that third step is just to think about, how does this make you feel? Or what do you think about when you look at this work of art? And so this is a really simple way to begin understanding and appreciating a work of art. Think about beginning with observation, considering the elements, and then the expressive context of the work of art.
Abigail, any final practical tips for parents who want to help with summer art instruction?
Yeah, so just, I guess, to recap in a way, these are my recommendations for working on art with your children during the summer. So first of all, begin with beauty. So maybe that's going outside and looking at a beautiful flower, or looking up at the clouds, or going to the zoo and looking at the animals and bringing a sketchbook with to kind of try to capture something that the students see. And then next, I would recommend to offer students simple supplies with wide parameters. So giving students even the simplest supplies will allow them to really use their creativity in new ways that you probably would never have imagined. If you feel like your students need a place to start, I would suggest to offer a drawing prompt. Actually, there's a good website. It's called theartofeducation.edu. If you feel like you need a place to start, offering just a quick little prompt can get students started. Another practical tip is to buy a sketchbook and bring it everywhere you go, whether that's a trip to the zoo or on vacation. And I think art is a meaningful way during the summer, especially to capture memories in a new way and make your summer really fun and joyful and purposeful as well.
Abigail Teska is art teacher at Seven Oaks Classical School in Ellettsville, Indiana, talking today about supporting parents in classical art instruction over the summer. Abigail, thank you so much for joining us here on the Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast.
Thank you so much, Scott.
I'm Scot Bertram. We invite you to like us on Facebook. Search for Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education. You also can follow us on Instagram at Hillsdale_K12. That's Hillsdale_K12 on Instagram. Thank you for listening to the Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast, part of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. More at podcast.hillsdale.edu or wherever you get your audio.